This thoroughbred was born from greatness at the same Kentucky farm where his legendary forefather has been laid to rest. And to a father, Pulpit, who was once a Kentucky Derby favorite. His name is Freedom's Flight. And like his brothers, he too may have gone on to racing's biggest stages. But instead, Freedom's Flight went on to live like this, marked for this. But Freedom's Flight's story might ultimately save hundreds of other horses from an underground market in which they're worth more dead than alive.
People would say, my neighbor's horse was slaughtered and all of its meat was gone. People would say, my mother opened the door this morning to our house and there was somebody in our driveway trying to sell horse meat to her out of a cooler.
40-year-old Richard Kudo is on a crusade to stop an illegal practice in South Florida in which horses are brutally and inhumanely butchered by people selling their meat on the black market.
The meat is being sold, documented, between $7 and $40 per pound. That really doesn't happen in most places in the United States. Miami is just a different place.
That is not beef. That was horse.
Within segments of Miami's large Latino community, eating horse meat isn't necessarily taboo. In the U.S., horse meat's not inspected by the USDA, making it illegal to sell for human or animal consumption.
One of the myths is that eating horse meat helps fight AIDS and other diseases. There's also a myth that certain horse meat is helpful as an aphrodisiac. Again, a myth.
People think that if they eat a piece of horse meat that it's going to help with their side effects from chemotherapy. It's going to cure their blood disorders.
Kudo's quest to stop horse slaughter began when he found Freedom's Flight. A successful real estate developer, Kudo had started volunteering with the South Florida SPCA in 2007. A year later, the SPCA was called by police to this ranch in a northwest area of Miami-Dade County known as the C9 Basin, a 20-minute drive from South Beach.
I was standing with an officer in the middle of just the worst farm I've ever seen in my life, and I've seen some pretty bad ones. And then you have the thoroughbreds and the horses, 50 of them. And I looked at the cop and I said, you know, what in the hell is this place? And she looked at me and she said, it's a slaughter farm.
Slaughter farms are backyard operations where animals, including horses, are killed in order to sell their meat on the black market. Kudo says up to 60 slaughterhouses like this one were in operation in the C9 Basin alone. The farms are unregulated and illegal.
Here, it's a very large operation. The hog rollers, slaughter table.
At the farm, tied to a tree, waiting to be slaughtered amid filth and the stench of death, was a 3-year-old horse, bones protruding from its rotting skin, diseased, choking on its own mucus.
He had a severely shattered leg, completely emaciated. He had strangles, which is an airborne infectious disease in equines, which almost killed him. It was just good timing for this horse, because if we didn't show up, he would have been on someone's dinner table in days, for sure.
The owner of the farm, 64-year-old Manuel Cotto, wasn't charged. The SPCA rescued the horse and began to rehabilitate it. Weeks later, a tattoo under its lip, a thoroughbred registration number, revealed the horse's identity. It was Freedom's Flight, great-great-grandson of Secretariat.
They're off.
3 months earlier, on April 4th, 2008, he had run his last race at Miami's Gulfstream Park. Freedom's Flight broke his leg seconds out of the gate. Still, he finished in the money, in 3rd place. Because of his injury, Freedom's Flight could no longer race. In those few months, he had at least 3 different owners and ended up on the slaughter farm where Kudo and the SPCA found him.
Good boy.
Weeks after Freedom's Flight was rescued, Kudo adopted him, vowing to stop horse abuse and slaughter. He put his real estate career aside and became a full-time investigator for the SPCA, going undercover, risking his life to gather evidence up close of criminal activity.
A lot of the cops don't know what goes on behind the locked and blocked out gates. They need a good reason to enter a property, whether it's a slaughter farm or not. I don't.
This is the slaughter area.
There are times when I do trespass, but do I see breaking a law to saving hundreds of thousands of animals by trespassing on someone's swampland, I don't see an issue with that. Here is another illegal slaughter farm.
I'm on a property that houses horses for illegal slaughter ranches.
There's a guy butchering an animal. And I found out that there wasn't one illegal slaughter farm in Miami-Dade County. They were everywhere.
And where are these horses coming from?
They're coming from the local racetracks. They're coming from auction. They're coming from people putting ads in Craigslist and selling their horses that way. Horses can be bought for $5 at auction right now. So for that $5 horse, you get 400 pounds of horse meat off that horse. A lot of money. There's a huge return on their investment.
Kudo estimates the meat off an average-sized horse could net up to $16,000. Slaughter farm operators weren't the only ones cashing in. Within the past 2 years, it's become a street crime as well.
Jerome was in the family for about 5 to 6 years. He was given to me by my uncle and my cousin. I mean, that was an honor. So it meant more to me than anything else. You know, it was a very strong bond.
One night in February 2009, someone stole Geronimo from his pasture, led him down the street, tied him to a tree, and cut his throat.
I mean, I saw the bloodstains down the palm tree. Okay, the whole side of the palm tree had blood from the top to the bottom. They killed him, and they took his meat from his body while he was still alive.
Geronimo's killers were never found. Over the next 2 years, Kudo and the SPCA say at least 25 other horses were either stolen from or killed at their homes.
Hey, is this your dead horse over here?
She is the 22nd documented horse slaughter case. Literally 100% of her meat is gone. Just
Is this your dead horse over here?
a brutal, disgusting scene.
Authorities had no success in catching those killers. But in September 2009, 20-year-old Santiago Cabrera, hoping to collect police reward money, called police to tell them that his friend, 19-year-old Luis Cordero, was killing horses. Acting on Cabrera's tip, police went undercover to buy horse meat from Cordero.
Dime tú el precio, a mí no me importa, yo compro todo lo que me dé.
¿Qué dice? 20 pesos la libra, 20.
¿Es frisado o...?
No, vamos a sacar recién sacadita.
Esta noche lo tengo.
Pues por esta noche, tal vez esta noche, por la madrugada, por ahí.
¿Viene la pata entera o viene...?
Entera, ¿eh?
¿La adelante o la de atrás?
La de atrás,
¿Cuántos caballos me puedo conseguir?
2, lo que sea.
2.
Later that night, police followed and pulled over Cordero. Cabrera, who was the snitch, was with him. Both men were on their way to slaughter horses. In an interrogation, Miami-Dade police released to E60, Cabrera confessed to taking part in killing and torching this mare in the presence of her foal.
Y Luis me dice que agarre la yegua. Yo cojo y agarro la yegua. ¿Cómo lo agarraste? La amarré normal en el cuello. Y con lo que Luis le dio un corte con el cuchillo debajo del cuello, le dieron por las patas delanteras para tumbarla. Ahí la yegua se cayó. Entre Luis y eso le cortaron las patas delanteras a la yegua.
The men also confessed to killing this former racehorse for $800 outside its own barn.
The horse's throat was slit to bring it down. And you can see where the front 2 quarters were just chopped off while the horse was still alive. And if you look at the face of the horse, you see the teeth, the agony, because although the throat was slit and it bled out, the spinal cord is still functioning, so the pain is still there.
Both Cordero and Cabrera were charged with animal cruelty and armed robbery. Cabrera was sentenced to 5 years in prison, Cordero to 4. Police still don't know who butchered the other horses, but 8 other men have been charged in connection with selling horse meat. As Kudo turned to the media to make the public aware of the slaughter issue, SPCA staffers began to receive death threats. In November 2009, Kudo, not wanting to endanger volunteers or horses with the SPCA, started his own organization,
Where the horses are butchered.
Animal Recovery Mission, with his own money. That same fall, Kudo brought a year's worth of evidence of illegal slaughter in the C9 Basin to several different government agencies.
The reaction was, Kudo, can't help you out. So I sat down and I thought, what is the next agency? And It was basically the Florida State Attorney.
He proved the existence of what he was trying to say because he had filmed, he had photographs. And I started calling some people to see what are the laws, what's the permits, what's not permitted, what is, or, then we took the next step.
On January 17, 2010, a month after Kudo met with the state attorneys, 15 law enforcement, environmental, and zoning agencies raided the C9 basin.
The animals here, eating garbage.
In 4 days, authorities issued more than 100 violations for operating illegal slaughter farms and condemned more than 400 structures. 800 animals, including cows, pigs, chickens, and horses, were rescued. 8 people were charged with animal cruelty.
This is one of the slaughter farms from the C9 Basin. It was closed down. This farm has been here for 20, 30, possibly 40 years. And it's so isolated. Most law enforcement and any type of enforcement in the state of Florida didn't know that this place was here.
Kudo and the raid brought so much attention to the illegal slaughter issue that Florida state lawmakers passed a new law cracking down on illegal horse slaughter, the toughest of its kind anywhere in the U.S. Effective October 1st, 2010, anyone who kills a horse inhumanely or a person possessing or selling horse meat can be charged with a felony, punishable by a fine of $3,500 and a minimum jail sentence of a year.
It used to be a misdemeanor. Now it's got a felony penalty, but there's another statute that talks about the killing of registered breed horses, like thoroughbreds. And if you kill them, that's a 15-year maximum penalty.
Bringing the horse into butcher here.
Despite Florida's new law, horses are still being slaughtered on South Florida ranches.
I'm sure it's still going on. We haven't put a stop to it. You have people who believe it is their right to do this.
You just killed one of the horses, guy in the cowboy hat. There have been great strides in the state of Florida over the past 3 years, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done in order to get a real handle on the issue here.